everyone. Hi. I hope you've all gotten your lunches. Welcome, everybody. I'm delighted to be here today. My name is Ellen Bassick. I'm the founder and president of the National Center on Family Homelessness. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to participate in the inaugural launching at HUD of National Homelessness Awareness Month. This briefing and the photo exhibit, Looking into Light, will bring much needed attention to the plight of families and children experiencing homelessness. We want to thank those who made this briefing and the photo exhibit possible. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for hosting us and housing the exhibit, including the Public Affairs Office, the SNAP's office, HUD Facilities Branch Managers, and Secretary Donovan, Assistant Secretary for Community Planning and Development, Mercedes Márquez, and their staff. Secretary Donovan has been instrumental in focusing increasing attention and resources on homelessness, but was called to the White House today. Thanks also to Barbara Poppe, Director of the Interagency Council on Homelessness, for agreeing to participate, and thanks to the exhibit sponsors, Digital Silver Imaging and the Center for Social Innovation. We also want to extend a special thank you to the Marie C. and Joseph C. Wilson Foundation, which generally sponsored this briefing, and the campaign to End Child Homelessness, which you'll hear about a lot more later when we get the panel going. Without their support, none of this would have been possible. Executive Director Megan Bell is in the audience today. Thank you for making the trip. We're grateful. Although we are witnessing the emergence of a third world in our own backyard, the harsh realities of families and children experiencing homelessness have remained largely invisible. Through today's briefing and launching of the photo exhibit, we are taking an important step toward increasing awareness of this growing American tragedy. The National Center on Family Homelessness is deeply committed to ensuring that every child has a bed to call his own. Children are resilient, and with the safety and security of a home, combined with appropriate services and supports, children can grow and thrive. In the mid-1980s, just 25 years ago, the numbers of families on the streets and in shelters was less than 1%. Today, more than 34% of the overall homeless population are families. Between 2007 and 2009, as the housing bubble burst and the economic recession deepened, the numbers of sheltered homeless families spiked, increasing by 30% in just 2 years, according to the recent HUD report. The vast majority of these families are headed by women alone, most of them in their late 20s with 2 to 3 children. 40% of the children are less than 6 years old. The mothers tend to be more than twice as poor as their housed counterparts, and are poorer than disabled people and elderly people. Many are struggling to combine their roles as homemakers, breadwinners, and parents. Similar to most people in poverty, these mothers are faced with unremitting, intense, frequent traumatic stresses and chronic strains. The homeless children you will see in the photo exhibit are no different than our own children, except they are living in poverty, the primary driver of homelessness, along with the lack of affordable housing. With poverty comes an array of stresses that are often unrelenting, unpredictable, and traumatic. Although life brings unexpected stress to all of us, homeless children are challenges in ways that overshadow their capacity to just be kids. Regardless of their pathways onto the streets, homelessness is severely traumatic for them. These children lose their homes, friends, pets, possessions, reassuring routines, and many families are forced to split up. When sheltered, they often end up living in one room in overcrowded circumstance among strangers and parenting in public. And you'll be able to see some of this in the photographs. As one 11-year-old girl lamented in quotes, "Where did the old me go? I'm a different person now. I'm more quiet. I'm not as much fun or pretty either. Where did I go? Sometimes I'm afraid and worried. Will we always be homeless?" Children experiencing homelessness go hungry at twice the rate of other kids. They move frequently, are often separated from their families and are commonly exposed to violence. It is not surprising that many have acute and chronic medical problems, emotional and behavioral issues, and poor educational outcomes. The panel today will tell you more about the challenges faced by these children, and afterwards we'll have time for an open discussion so that you can get your questions answered. The photo exhibit, Looking into Light, is on display in the main hall of HUD during the entire month of November. I hope that you'll have time to see it. In the late 1980s, when I co-founded the National Center with Better Homes and Gardens magazine, the publication commissioned a photographer to document the issue of family homelessness in America. The photographer conducted 50 photo shoots across the country and amassed 20,000 black and white, non-digitized negatives that have now become the historical record of the rise of family homelessness in our nation. Recently, the archive was bequeathed to us with the photographer wishing to remain anonymous. With the help of Eric Luden from Digital Silver Imaging, we selected 75 images with the strongest historical provenance and universality, combined with the most immediate impact to bring the story of these children and their families to life. Various combinations of these photographs, mounted and framed in different ways, will travel to venues across the country over the next year. In the tradition of advocacy-oriented photojournalism, we hope these powerful images will contribute to catalyzing social change. Just as Lewis Hines' photos were instrumental in shaping public opinion about child labor at the turn of the 20th century, and Jacob Riis's photos, which many of you may be familiar with, exposed the squalid living conditions many immigrants found themselves in New York City tenements, we hope these photos will play a part in connecting viewers with people experiencing homelessness, inspiring them to action. We hope you will be among them. Minor White, a 20th century photographer, emphasized that photos were mirrors capable of evoking aspects of our own personal feeling states, connecting us both to ourselves and to the subject of the photograph. If this exhibit helps to humanize people experiencing homelessness, bringing them back into the light, and reconnecting us to them and to the community, then we have accomplished our purpose. All the children and families in the exhibit, with the exception of the providers, were homeless when their photos were taken. They all gave consent to be photographed, hoping the photos might make a difference for other families. Some of the photos are of young children. Their expressions of terror, sadness, and in a few instances, delight, reflect their circumstances. In other parts of the exhibit, 4 of 5 photos sequenced together tell a story. For example, a man collecting cans while his family lives in a car with a warehouse in the background that contains his Marine footlocker. He's a veteran, now unable to support his family. Or a little boy jumping up and down with excitement because he now has his own bed. His family is finally moving into housing. And the dedicated providers who are there to accompany families along their journeys and help them in whatever ways they can. Combined with the work that many of you are doing, we are hopeful that no child in our country will be homeless for even one night. It now is my pleasure to introduce Mercedes Márquez, HUD's Assistant Secretary of Community Planning and Development. She has worked tirelessly to support the growth and development of America's communities and to provide shelter and services to people experiencing homelessness. Assistant Secretary.
Good morning. Still good morning. There we are. Buenos días. Welcome to HUD. On behalf of Secretary Donovan and the HUD family, we welcome you here today. And we thank you for making the exhibit available to the HUD family. I was saying to some folks earlier that where it is down here on the main floor really is the living room for the HUD family. And so this is where we all are, this is where we meet, this is where we eat together. And so much of the work that we do touches on the issues of homelessness. And so I think it's important for the HUD family to have the opportunity to be reminded of why it is that we do what we do in very poignant ways, and also in the panel not just see some sadness, but also see hope about what it means to work our mission every day. So on behalf of the HUD family, thank you so much for making it available to us. Ellen, thank you for the introduction and for your leadership on the National Center on Family Homelessness. Thanks to the research, we know far more about the causes, demographics, and dynamics of family homelessness than ever before. For 3 decades, the National Center on Family Homelessness has devoted its work to a simple proposition, that every family in America deserves a roof over their head. And as today's exhibit shows, your work has never been more critical than it is right now. How apropos, Looking into Light represents 20 years of family homelessness in the country. It shows the pain and sadness of children who don't have a home and of parents who know that they are unable to provide one. It also shows the resilience of the human spirit and the important work to ensure that we support it. So it stirs our hearts and inspires our empathy. But just as importantly, it chronicles what we've learned. Indeed, over the past 2 decades, homelessness among families, once considered a relative footnote in the overall struggle against homelessness, has grown to represent nearly 40% of the homeless population. Just as striking is the rise in family homelessness is the range of issues that can lead to it. Everything from losing a job and suddenly being able to pay the rent to fleeing violent, abusive relationships without a safe place to call home, or to fall victim to one of the worst foreclosure crises since the Great Depression here in the country. Indeed, the economic crisis has thrown into sharp focus just how profoundly homelessness has changed these past few years. For example, we know that a growing number of all homeless families come from either their own homes or living arrangements with family or friends. Think about it. In contrast to what so many of us assume about the homeless population, these families fell into homelessness not after leaving hospital, jails, or mental institutions, but from homes. It's clear that family homelessness offers a different set of challenges, and to respond to it, we need an equally diverse set of tools. For families facing complex, long-term challenges like mental illness and substance abuse, we're connecting housing with supportive services, allowing families to live with security and stability while also getting the help they need. Indeed, though, through permanent supportive housing, that communities across the country were able to reduce the number of chronically homeless people by more than 1/3 just inside of 5 years. But not all homeless families have serious long-term needs that require serious long-term assistance. That's why under President Obama's leadership, we worked to help families who were forced into homelessness by the economic crisis find homes quickly and effectively. Through the Recovery Act, interventions like the Homelessness Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program, or HPRP, we've provided families with the immediate short-term assistance they needed to get back on their feet. As many of you know, HPRP has prevented or ended homelessness for more than 1 billion people overall. And as the New York Times said just yesterday, homelessness in America would be considerably worse without it. You know, it's always difficult it's difficult to talk about a statistic like that, to celebrate that 1 million people didn't go into homelessness when you know how vulnerable they are. So I say that with a sense of reserve and respect, that number. But nonetheless, we have to be able to talk about our benchmarks, right, and what it is that we're actually achieving. So it's from that point of view that we talk about a number in that way. Now, fully 3/4 of those million people were in families. And I'd like to really acknowledge Mark Johnson and Anna Leva and the entire SNAP staff for all of the remarkable work they've done. I can tell you that it is really my honor to work with them and to interact on such an important issue. But also important for us in CPD, because I think that maybe for the first time in years, we're connecting across the SNAP's office to understand how homelessness can actually be solved, not only through the SNAP's budget, but through all of the different funding sources that we use and that we make available to really catch folks in very low incomes. So we spend a lot of time on that now. Now, the Recovery Act not only gave the federal government a powerful new tool to combat homelessness, but one that is particularly effective at targeting family homelessness with HPRP. Now, that's the kind of smart government approach it's going to take to finally put us on a path to ending family homelessness. Indeed, as families represent a larger share of our homeless population, so too are our tools becoming better equipped to serve them. Last year, HUD's Continuum of Care grants helped 65,000 families. In fact, families with children represented 1 out of every 3 people who received assistance. And with the launching of the Hearth Act, President Obama signed into law. We're going still further, increasing our emphasis on rapid rehousing and preventative services for families struggling to avoid homelessness in the first place. While the Hearth Act and the necessary funding from Congress, if we get that, for the first time we will be able to provide a true continuum of assistance, ranging from prevention, outreach, and emergency and transitional housing to permanent supportive housing. All this work demonstrates that we've made an unprecedented commitment to ending homelessness among families. And with Opening Doors, the first ever federal strategic plan to end homelessness, we're bringing the full resources of 19 different federal agencies to bear on that fight. To prevent families who have stayed together for years from separating simply because of the unimaginable stress of living on the streets. To help families avoid the agonizing choice of taking their kids out of school and sending them to foster care because they can't provide a safe, decent place to call home. To ensure that moms don't have to sleep in a car just to give their children a place to sleep that night. To give every family a home and every child a chance. That's the future that the National Center to End Family Homelessness believes in. It's what this extraordinary exhibit compels us to build. And it's what the Obama administration is fighting for every day. I want to thank you for having me here. I want to tell you that I'm actually a civil rights litigator by training and by experience. And for my entire career, I've worked on this issue. When I was a very young lawyer, and pretty much halfway through my career, I represented families that lived in slum housing. The worst possible housing conditions, but that means I sued both private landlords and public landlords about these issues. And the photographs out there, the faces that are reflected, the emptiness in the eyes, are stares and feelings that are very familiar to me from having spent so many years in buildings that were overrun with rats and roaches and no screens and every kind of problem that you can imagine with plumbing and everything else. That fear, that insecurity of never knowing where you're going to land, of knowing that you could be evicted at any moment, even when the conditions were as horrific that are identical to the stares and the distant gaze of those families and those kids in those photographs. So I want to thank you for bringing it, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity this morning to remember where I come from. So thank you so very much for having me here today. I hope the panel goes well, and this month is a truly meaningful one as we continue to fight all together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary, for your heartfelt and inspiring remarks. I'm now honored to introduce Barbara Poppe, the Executive Director of the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness. She oversees the federal response to homelessness by working with 19 federal agencies to create a national partnership. As described in Opening Doors, which the Assistant Secretary mentioned, the nation's first comprehensive plan to prevent and end homelessness, she has extended the federal response beyond chronic homelessness to include many other subgroups, such as veterans and homeless families, youth, and children. Barbara Poppe, thank you.
Well, thank you, Ellen, for your generous introduction. It's great to be here, and it's great to be with so many good friends through the years, coming together to talk today about this really important issue of family homelessness. I also want to take just a moment to really thank Ellen for her tremendous leadership of the National Center. It's really change the face of our response to homelessness. And I know she's getting ready to do some transitions, and we're not saying goodbye yet, but do want to congratulate her on all the work she's done, and know it's going to be a really tough act to follow. So it's good to be here with you, Ellen. So here we are, kicking off National Homeless Awareness Month. And I think we got to start by thanking our friends at HUD, both for hosting this, but also for the tremendous leadership they show on a year-round basis toward the goal of ending homelessness. So thank you, HUD, for having us here and for enduring all of the USICH meetings that we get you to come to. So there's many of you in the room who I'm thanking for that. So as Labor Secretary and Council Chair Hilda Solis noted recently at our last council meeting, we have accomplished a lot together in this administration and with you. But as you all know too well, there is so much left to do. With the support and input of many of you, we did launch Opening Doors, the first ever federal strategic plan to prevent and end homelessness. And I'm taking a poll here. Could I see a show of hands of those of you who've read and are using the plan? Very good, not quite 100%. There's opportunity for the rest of you. There have, in fact, been 300,000 download and use the plan, so we're really excited. The plan sets out 4 ambitious goals. First, we will finish the job of ending chronic homelessness by 2015. Second, we will prevent and end homelessness for America's veterans and their families by 2015. Third, we will prevent and end homelessness for families, youth, and children by 2020. Fourth, and finally, Opening Doors sets a path to ending all types of homelessness. It's a comprehensive plan that outlines 10 objectives and 52 strategies. The bold and measurable goals in Opening Doors are meant to prompt strategic efforts at the federal, state, and local levels to work collaboratively to prevent and end homelessness. There is widespread agreement that only by prioritizing and aligning resources, both mainstream and targeted, can we make progress on our goals. We can't afford business as usual in today's tight economy. Only the most cost-effective and cost-efficient policies and procedures must be utilized. So over the last 17 months, there has been unprecedented collaboration among the federal agencies, with one another and with state and local governments and the nonprofit sector. Together, we are laying the groundwork for future successes through better collaboration, better data collection, better use of mainstream resources, and engaging states and local communities in the plan's goals and strategies. Increased investment in federal programs that target homeless persons and are successful at reducing homelessness has been a priority as well. The need, though, is staggering. In the 2009-2010 school year, public schools reported nearly 1 million homeless students enrolled. What a national disgrace to have children and youth counted among those who experience homelessness. And that's one reason for the bold decision the Council made last year to tackle family homelessness head-on. The goal to prevent and end homelessness for families, youth, and children by 2020 commits our administration to do all we can to reverse the growing trend of family and child homelessness in partnership with Congress, states, tribes, counties, cities, philanthropy, the business sector, and nonprofits. Some would say it's an all-hands-on-deck mission. So you may be wondering how we plan to tackle this. Well, we think there are 4 keys for addressing family homelessness. 1 is housing, 2nd is jobs, 3rd is mainstream services, health, human services, income supports, and education, and 4th, coordinated local response and better collaboration. As I noted earlier, we cannot afford business as usual. We must ensure that we're tackling things in the most effective and cost-efficient ways. Access to affordable housing is especially vital for families. Unfortunately, the trend lines are going in all the wrong directions. Too many Americans cannot afford a safe place to call home. More than 8 million renters pay more than half of their income for their housing, yet are extremely low income. There has been a 13% increase in extremely low-income renter households over the last decade, while the number of units affordable to this population has decreased by 14%. Fortunately, public housing agencies have stepped up their efforts to prioritize and target public housing and all types of housing vouchers to homeless families. Secretary Donovan and Assistant Secretary Sandra Enriquez have been clear that these partnerships will be important today and over the next decade as we work to end homelessness among families. As Assistant Secretary Márquez highlighted, both mainstream CPD programs like home and targeted resources like HOPWA, NSP, and the continuum of care can be leveraged to ensure housing solutions. HPRP made an enormous impact around the country and helped many communities make the shift to more cost-effective programs that are focused on prevention and rapid rehousing. We know the best defense against homelessness for a family is a job that pays enough to cover the basics, especially the cost of housing. With continuing high levels of unemployment, a good job remains elusive for too many Americans. President Obama's push for congressional passage of the American Jobs Act would prevent 6 million Americans currently looking for work from losing their benefits. The American Jobs Act would also support programs that build real skills, connecting to real jobs, and help the long-term unemployed. Specific to our work, the proposed legislation would create a new Pathways Back to Work Fund that, among other things, would build on the success of the TANF ECF, or the Temporary Assistance for Needy's Family Emergency Contingence Fund. Talk about an acronym there. And that program supported subsidized employment opportunities for unemployed low-income individuals. But as President Obama has said, families and children don't have the luxury of waiting for Congress to act. Your voices matter in this debate, and we need Congress to move immediately. To further family stability, mainstream programs will need to be better aligned at the local level to support families through better collaboration and greater accountability for housing stability. What we can't have is an ever-expanding homeless system that becomes responsible for everything a family needs, from early childhood to employment to all types of health and human services. Secretary Sebelius and her team at HHS have been working to expand access to health insurance and health care through the Affordable Care Act. Already provisions are in place that allow young adults to stay on their family's health insurance and prevent screening out children with high medical needs. Future provisions that create more affordable health insurance options for families will decrease the chances that an unexpected health event will lead to job loss or foreclosure, driving a family into homelessness. There will be new tools available to help families with the most complex health problems and related challenges get access to more holistic care and support through the Healthy Homes and Accountable Care organizations. We need the experts in working with families most vulnerable to homelessness to partner with local health policy makers and systems to ensure that the needs of families experiencing homelessness are taken into account in the local implementation of the Affordable Care Act. We're also very excited about Secretary Arne Duncan's team at the Department of Education. They are working to bring all of the programs within the agency around the table to identify the ways in which all the programs within education might contribute to accomplishing the goals laid out in the plan. More work will be needed over the next year to get more local school systems on board and working with local continuum of care and local plans to end homelessness. We also expect that these local plans will consider the ways to keep children in their same school without requiring long bus rides. One emergency solution is to repurpose emergency shelter and transitional housing to prevention, rapid rehousing, and transition-in-place models. As Secretary Donovan has highlighted in speeches across the country for the past 2 years, HPRP made an enormous impact and helped many communities make an important shift to focusing on prevention and rapid rehousing. As HEART Act implementation begins with the new Emergency Solutions Grant, communities will be able to adapt the lessons learned about prevention and rapid rehousing as they work to retool their community's continuum of care system. One promising practice is the shift to transitional housing to target those most in need. Another is repurposing scattered site transitional housing to transition-in-place models that provide greater stability for children and their parents and can reduce school mobility. Helping kids stay in school can lead to improved academic achievements, a long-term return on investment. As has been demonstrated in Massachusetts, in the Midwest, in Columbus, in Minneapolis, and on the West Coast in Seattle, by bringing all mainstream programs to the table with a homelessness system, the sum of collaborative work is far greater than the parts. There's a growing movement for communities to decide that they have the capacity to use the available resources to actually solve their own local problems. Some in this movement have said, we realized no one was coming to save us, so we decided to act together. And that's what needs to happen across the country. Over the next year, the Interagency Council pledges to continue to work with our key partners at Education, HHS, HUD, and Labor to develop greater details about the strategies that are working, both at a policy and a practice level, combined with a focused use of resources that will be required to reach our bold goal of ending family homelessness by 2020. We expect housing, jobs, services, and improved collaboration to be the framework for this success. I know we are on the right collective path, but each of us in this room is absolutely vital to ensuring we can achieve this. In the end, it comes down to commitment, not just by the President, the administration, Congress, governors, local elected officials. It really is up to each of us, and I thank you for being on the journey with us.
Thank you very much, Barbara. It's been a real pleasure working with the Interagency Council on Homelessness, not just in the development of opening doors, but now in the implementation. So we thank you very much for being here today and for the great work of the plan being developed and now moving ahead. If the panelists could join me on stage, that would be wonderful. My name is Christina Murphy. I'm the director of the campaign to End Child Homelessness at the National Center on Family Homelessness. And I'm very happy to be here today at HUD with my fellow panelists to commemorate Homelessness Awareness Month by talking about federal policy priorities for homeless children and their families. With the current economic recession, more families than ever are feeling the strain and trying to stretch their limited resources to cover basic necessities. Because current economic conditions, including increased unemployment, home foreclosures, and poverty, have resulted in an increase in the number of families who are homeless and at risk for homelessness, we believe that now, more than ever, we must work together in a focused way to end child and family homelessness. In 2009, the National Center on Family Homelessness launched the campaign to end child homelessness with the vision that no child should go to sleep without a home for even one night. The campaign works to increase awareness about child homelessness, galvanize public and political will for decisive action, inform policy solutions, and strengthen programs and services. As a part of the campaign's efforts, today we have gathered a panel of federal policy experts to discuss current policy related to child and family homelessness and to highlight some of the issues Congress and the administration can address. As we discuss the federal policies that are necessary to support homeless families and children, it is important to keep in mind the context and atmosphere we are working in. Budget constraints and the federal deficit do not provide a conducive environment for expanding homeless programs to address the increased need resulting from this economic recession. Still, there are many opportunities to increase prevention and to make progress towards ending child and family homelessness, especially if federal agencies align their efforts by coordinating both programs and funding streams. Our goal is to create a high-quality, fully funded, and efficient system of housing and services. Homelessness is a complicated problem. There's not one solution or one program that will solve it. We have made considerable progress over the past few years, as outlined by the Assistant Secretary and Barbara Poppe. Today, our panelists will address some of the key policy issues that will have the greatest impact on homeless children and families as we move forward. We have Jeremy Rosen today, substituting for Maria Foscarenas, who is the founder and president of the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty. Jeremy is their policy expert, and he's going to talk today about housing. I'm going to address the need for and importance of supportive services. Osa Finelli, President and CEO of Horizons for Homeless Children, will talk about the importance of early care and education for young homeless children. Sarah Bolton, Legislative Assistant for Senator Patty Murray from Washington State, will discuss education issues for homeless children and youth. And Amy Grissett, Consumer Advisory Board member at the National Center on Family Homelessness and Advisory Board member at the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council, will share her family's experiences while homeless and describe what programs and policies worked for them. Thank you to each of the panelists for taking time to join us today and for sharing your expertise. We will have time for questions and answers once everyone has presented. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy Rosen from the National Law Center. And Jeremy, if comfortable there or here, whatever is easier.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to see so many familiar faces in the audience. I'm Jeremy Rosen. I'm the Policy Director at the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty, and we are the legal arm of the National Movement of Advocates to End Homelessness. I want to thank the National Center on Family Homelessness for organizing today's event, and of course, thank everyone here at HUD who are graciously hosting us and who, of course, we work with on an ongoing basis to address these issues. I'll spend a few minutes today talking about housing issues, particularly appropriate since we are here at HUD. I want to start off just very briefly by noting that our advocacy around these issues really comes very much from a perspective of human rights. We believe in the human right to housing for all Americans, right that the United States government has acknowledged in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and a number of human rights treaties that our government has signed over the years. We're very pleased that HUD and the administration worked with us and many other advocates over the last few years as the U.S. Underwent a review by the UN Human Rights Council, where the U.S. made a number of commitments, including a commitment to continue working to address the affordable housing needs and the shelter needs for homeless and low-income Americans. In addition, of course, as Barbara mentioned earlier, the Opening Doors Plan released in 2010, of course, makes a number of other important commitments, including the commitment to end child and family homelessness in 10 years. I'm going to talk a little bit today about solutions, some of which would require congressional intervention, others are things that can be done by HUD and administrative agencies, some of which will cost the government money that needs to be spent to end child and family homelessness. Others are policy changes that can be adopted without spending money at all. As HUD reported last summer and the New York Times editorialized on yesterday, family homelessness increased 20% between 2007 and 2010. Congress is making funding decisions right now for the fiscal year that has already begun. It is critical that Congress find another $500 million above and beyond the level that's currently being considered for HUD homelessness funding to pay for implementation of the HEART Act, specifically the provisions that focus on homelessness prevention for families and the provision of additional resources to serve newly eligible families who will soon be eligible for assistance under HUD's soon-to-be broadened definition of homelessness. In addition, we think it's extremely important for Congress to fund the demonstration Section 8 voucher proposal from the administration's last two budgets. This proposal would provide housing vouchers for homeless liaisons in public schools who could access vouchers through their local public housing agencies in order to provide the children and families they serve with stable, long-term housing. Given the Law Center's recent report that in many cases it can actually cost less money for a homeless family to get new housing close to where their children go to school than it does to transport them those children back to that school over a long distance, these vouchers are critical and in many cases will actually save money. In addition, we believe it's extremely important to provide immediately at least $1 billion for the National Housing Trust Fund and many more resources for the trust fund in future years. There are a number of ways we could obtain these funds beyond simply the regular congressional appropriations process. We could, for example, pass reform of the federal housing finance system, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and obtain money through that process to fund affordable housing. So Congress could also reform our tax code, including reform of the home mortgage interest deduction program, and obtain resources to pay for affordable housing that way. Finally, there are a number of steps on the policy front that HUD can take to prevent people who already have housing from losing it. First, HUD can do more to ensure that tenants are better informed about the rights of renters to stay in foreclosed properties once the property reverts to a bank or financial company who becomes the new owner. Under the Protecting Tenants at Foreclosure Act, those renters have the right to stay in their homes either for the duration of the lease or for at least 90 days. Many families are unaware of these rights and consequently leave their housing without any place to go, even though they could potentially stay for considerably longer and have more time to find a new place to live. HUD can do more to publicize the law as it applies to all tenants, reissue a notice reminding public housing authorities that Section 8 tenants have an even broader set of protections under the law, and ensure that for FHA mortgages, FHA sends new notices to tenants who are living in FHA properties post-foreclosure to ensure that they're aware of PTFA rates. The current notices are not entirely clear. In addition, we're very pleased that HUD supports legislative efforts to expand the Violence Against Women Act's protections, housing protections for victims of domestic violence and their families beyond public housing and Section 8 programs to other assisted housing programs funded by HUD. If we can get this passed on Capitol Hill, this will be very important in order to keep families in their homes. We do hope that, along with that support, we can also ensure that Congress provides for an administrative enforcement mechanism through HUD's Fair Housing Office so that victims of domestic violence and their families who face eviction, contrary to the law, have recourse. Finally, in a time when budgets are tight, it's imperative that we take advantage of creative solutions for the use of existing resources. In that light, HUD can take two important steps. First, HUD recently partnered with Treasury and the Federal Housing Finance Agency to seek recommendations on how to dispose of 100,000 foreclosed single-family homes now owned by the federal government. Our answer is simple. The government should give many of these properties to continuums of care or directly to homeless service providers to provide permanent housing for homeless families. HUD has done this in the past, and it must be done again today. When we have so many people without homes, we must match them up with homes that do not contain people. Additionally, HUD and OMB continue legislative efforts to curtail or even eliminate Title V of the McKinney-Vento Act, which gives homeless service providers a right of first refusal to to obtain property that the government no longer wants in order to serve homeless persons. These efforts should be abandoned. This is an important program which ought to be preserved. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Both you and the National Law Center have been great friends to the National Center on Family Homelessness through the years. We're glad to have you here today. As Jeremy has described, housing is essential for ending homelessness. Housing promotes health, prevents the onset of illness, improves educational outcomes, reduces stress, and provides a safe environment in which children can grow and thrive. But for most families, that is not sufficient. Think of your own family and the various supports you have needed for yourselves and your children: childcare, transportation, medical and other health care, and educational supports. I know myself, I have a 5-month-old baby, and we've used all of those supports before and since she was born. Any comprehensive strategy to end family homelessness must address the full range of needs of all family members by ensuring that high-quality services are available and accessible. As families move from homelessness into housing, services and supports are necessary to facilitate the transition, to help maintain the housing over the long term, and ultimately to achieve self-sufficiency. Excuse me while I catch up. In the short time we have here today, we cannot cover all the policies and programs that constitute supportive services for families. Instead, I'm going to begin by discussing some general principles of care that we believe should be implemented in every program serving homeless families and children. I will then highlight some programs and legislation that, if implemented over the next year or two, would go far in ending this tragic problem. Based on our understanding of the needs of homeless families and children and our experiences in the field, the National Center on Family Homelessness has developed a set of basic principles of care that we believe should be implemented in every federal government program that relates to homelessness. All programs should be trauma-informed, recovery-oriented, and culturally competent. At a minimum, all programs should rapidly rehouse families, respond to immediate needs, link housing with services and supports, assess families and create individualized housing and service plans, support family unity, deliver high-quality services, provide trauma-informed care, address the unique needs of the children, ensure a basic standard of care by training the workforce, and monitor progress and outcomes. I'm now going to focus on some specific federal services and supports that are critical for homeless families. Domestic violence is a primary route onto the streets. In addition to high rates of childhood physical and sexual abuse among homeless mothers, approximately 2/3 report physical assault by an intimate partner as adults. More than 1/4 require medical treatment for their injuries. As Congress is working to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, we believe expansion of the Family Violence Prevention and Services Act to meet the increasing need for services, as well as VAWA's transitional housing program, are critical. From infancy through childhood, homeless children have significantly higher rates of acute and chronic medical illnesses. Ultimately, poor health combined with lack of employment, limited income, and no health insurance strongly increase risk for homelessness. We are enthused about the recent expansion of Medicaid through the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, which will come into effect in 2014. As we respond to the Medicaid regulations that are coming out, we need to ensure that they effectively increase enrollment, broaden eligibility, and improve access for at-risk and homeless families. Homelessness is a devastating experience that significantly impacts the well-being of adults, youth, and children. The prevalence of traumatic stress and the rates of major depression and post-traumatic stress disorder among homeless mothers are high. We must increase awareness of the federal mental health parity law and its requirements. In addition, incorporating mental health and substance use disorders into federal prevention initiatives is an important priority. We must also work to increase comprehensive services and supports in schools for at-risk and homeless children, including providing sufficient mental health services through the Mental Health in Schools Act and improving connections to community supports, such as tutoring, after-school programs, and healthcare. At the National Center, we provide technical assistance and training for homeless service providers. It is important for the federal government to take a closer look at how it can enhance training opportunities for those working with homeless children, youth, and families. Hunger threatens the well-being of children and youth. Failure to eat nutritious foods adversely affects behavior, school performance, and cognitive development. Homeless children are twice as likely as other children to experience hunger. 1/3 of homeless children have been forced to skip meals. The Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act was signed into law last year with important changes. We must continue to build on these improvements in the law. The U.S. Department of Agriculture published an interim rule this past spring that updates regulations on the enrollment of homeless and runaway children for free school meals, simplifying the process by extending free meal eligibility to all children in a household that receives SNAP, TANF, or the Federal Distribution Program on Indian reservations. Some in Congress have made calls over the past year to cut funding for SNAP. We must work together to ensure SNAP funding continues to increase as the need has risen exponentially in this current recession. In the long run, it's more cost-effective to increase the enrollment of families in programs such as SNAP than to pay for costly emergency room hospital visits. Families living in poverty are forced to make painful decisions every day about how to spend scarce resources. When family budgets are stretched so thin that a family must decide between buying groceries or paying for rent, families are more likely to become homeless. Therefore, it's very important for families to have the jobs and income they need to support themselves. During the current reauthorization of the Workforce Investment Act, we must ensure a greater focus on homeless job seekers. State grantees should be required to ensure that homeless youth and parents receive professional job training services aimed at improving job skills, maximizing earning potential, and finding jobs that pay a livable wage. Additionally, TANF is up for reauthorization in 2012. We must improve access to TANF assistance and supports for families at risk of or experiencing homelessness. In conclusion, funding for programs supporting homeless families is essential. While we are all concerned about the budget, unfortunately, homelessness is not a problem that proves less costly to taxpayers when access to services is reduced. Homelessness leads to poor health, unemployment, and adverse educational outcomes that can increase societal and economic costs. Investing in health, nutrition, jobs, and domestic violence prevention programs ensures that homeless children are able to grow and thrive, even when their families are on precarious footing. Please support the necessary investments in these programs, and together we can work to end the cycle of homelessness. Thank you. And I'd now like to introduce Osa Finelli from Horizons for Homeless Children.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for the great staff and leadership at HUD and at the National Center for Family Homelessness. I'm honored to represent Horizons for Homeless Children. And I took a little sneak peek around the corner at the photos, and I hope that all of you will be as inspired as I was to see these very emotional, powerful photos. Just a quick background about Horizons for Homeless Children. We provide critical services for homeless children, 2,000 children each week. And we do that by two main programs. One is that we create safe educational play spaces in every single family shelter across the state in Massachusetts, where engaged, trained volunteers play with the children. The other thing we do is that we operate 3 full-time, high-quality, NACE-accredited early education and childcare centers in the greater Boston area. And we provide the children also with all other kind of wraparound services, like mental health, early intervention, and so forth. And in combination with that, we provide parent programs. It's essential for early education to combine that with programs for parents to work with the whole family. And that's everything from education, financial literacy, workforce training, and so forth. We really work on helping families, not just when they're homeless, but also through the transition to make sure that they stabilize long-term and don't fall back into homelessness. So why do we focus on children under 6? And why should we focus on children from birth to 6? Well, first of all, which you've heard here, it's really a hidden population. Many of these children go completely unnoticed and uncounted. It's as if literally they don't exist because they are not being identified today. We're actually estimating at least 1.5 million children who do not have a place to call home every night in this country. So, and of those, 42% are under the age of 6. Even HUD's annual homeless assessment report found that over half of the children in homeless shelters are under the age of 6. And that doesn't include all the children in domestic violence shelters and doubling up on couches and floors. The second reason is that it's a growing population. You've heard that already. Family homelessness is the largest subgroup of the homeless population, the fastest growing, segment of the homeless population, and making up almost 40% of all homeless. And again, as Ellen said, imagine many of them are single mothers in their mid-20s, lacking most of them even a high school year diploma, with 2 or 3 children. At least 1 or 2 of those are under the age of 6. So this is also, lastly, the absolute critical population. So why? Well, think about this. 85% of the brain's core structure is formed between birth and 5 years of age. Think of that. And it's been very much proven through science that excessive long-term stress, toxic stress, instability of any sort is completely detrimental at an early age. And it leads to learning problems for children. There's no question about it. Homeless children are twice as likely to repeat a grade, to be expelled from school, to be suspended, or to not ever graduate from high school. And they also suffer much higher rates of physical and mental health issues. And these negative effects, they actually can last a whole lifetime throughout adulthood. So that's the bad news. But the good news is that we can actually change the trajectory of a child's life. And that is by intervening early. It's key to start. It's so much better to prevent, so much more effective to prevent this, instead of trying to fix the problem later on and spending much more money. There's been several studies done on the return of investment, showing that every dollar spent today can be avoiding something like $6 to even up to $17 of saving costs later on special education, on welfare, on crime, juvenile incarceration. So it's literally a business investment, not just investing in the children, but for the whole society. And I am delighted that the Obama administration is continuing to fight for these common sense investments for early education and care, even though we are going through a difficult political and fiscal climate. Funding for TANF, CCDBG, and Head Start and Early Head Start was increased in FY11, and President Obama's budget for FY12 has requested even more funding, including very much needed $1.2 billion increase in CCDF, the Child Care and Development Fund. And also, you probably have heard of the $500 million that the administration is using for the Race to the Top, the Early Learning Challenge, which applications were just coming in a few weeks ago. Horizons, we actually provided joint comments together with the National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth, recommending that each state would develop a plan for effectively coordinating between all the agencies. And we're thrilled and excited because the department actually took those recommendations and incorporated them into the application. However, though, there's lots of more work to be done. And unfortunately, one of the significant challenges is that it's a lot of barriers to access, for families to access federal support and childcare. We have found that only 1 in 7 eligible child actually benefits from federal childcare, 1 in 7. And in 2008, only 7% of homeless children were enrolled in public pre-K, Head Start, or Early Head Start. And we believe at Horizons for Homeless Children that childcare is a critical component for breaking the cycle of homelessness. And we will be working on to develop federal legislation to remove these barriers for quality early education and for other services. And funding is a policy debate, but it's not the only issue, really. Accessing the reasons that childcare is hard to access, many of the reasons are the same reasons that led to the passage of the McKinney-Vento education provisions. Especially in the Child Care Community Block Grant Program, the CCDBG, which is the largest federal child care program, there are big barriers to access childcare. If you do access it, if a family does access a voucher, usually the childcare providers are unaware that they have homeless children. They usually have not received adequate training to deal and give the best services to homeless children. Unlike Head Start, there's also very limited flexibility for parents. They need to provide necessary documentation, which, if you're moving around constantly, is actually really a challenge to be able to do that. Also, co-payments are often unaffordable for parents, and they have to demonstrate permanent address. How do you do that when you're homeless? So there's a lot of issues, even the risk that you lose a childcare slot, even if you just temporarily move into housing in a different geographic area. So it really would be good if we somehow could figure out a way to extend McKinney-Vento protections to CCDBG and address these needs. Another big problem is that children who do finally get identified and enrolled and into childcare, however, the issue is continuing that care. Continuity of care is critical for the child's development and, of course, for the family's stabilization. Because how can a homeless mom with 2 children try to get the right education or maintain a job and become self-sufficient if she has children under 6 years old without childcare? So weaving together various funding streams to maintain continuity of care is really, really important. At Horizons, we just realized that several of our parents lost their subsidies in childcare during the summer months because studying during the semester, there was no way to find a job or anything else, and they would have been kicked out. We put together very creatively a 7-week parent program where we had parents spending time in the classrooms learning about the parenting skills, and in the afternoons doing financial literacy and other critical job training skills. So, as already has been mentioned here, the most important thing, though, is the collaboration between the state agencies. And as Barbara Poppe mentioned, we have done that a lot in Massachusetts. We have been spending a lot of time educating the housing agencies how to understand access to childcare and eligibility, and we've been educating the Department of Education about the unique needs of homeless children. And only through this federal collaboration with HHS, HUD, and ED can we really work with the family holistically and make sure that they stabilize long term. Every day I see the children, because our headquarters in Boston are attached to one of the child care centers. And when I look at the children and see their smiling faces and know that we're making a difference, I also think about that in 10 or 12 years, I do not want them to be the next generation of homeless. So let's not do that, and we can if we start preventing it early. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Before I joined the National Center, I was actually a volunteer in the place-based programs at Horizons, so I know what a great service they provide to the kids and families, and I also know how much fun it is to play with the kids. So thank you for being with us here today. I'd now like to introduce Sarah Bolton from the Office of Senator Patty Murray from Washington State. The senator has been a really strong advocate for so many people over the years, and we're really happy to have Sarah here with us today.
Thank you. I'm just going to stay right here if that's okay. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah. Good. Well, I'm really excited to be here today on behalf of my boss to talk a little bit about the role that education plays in children who are experiencing, in the lives of children who are experiencing homelessness. Those of you who are familiar with my boss, Senator Murray, she, since I think the moment she stepped foot in the Senate, has been a really dedicated champion to eradicating child and family homelessness. And so I know that she's really excited about this event here today. Senator believes that strong educational opportunities are absolutely critical for all students, but for homeless students in particular. Homeless children lack stability, and for many of them, school provides a safe and constant place where they're known and they're welcome. And school also allows them to gain the skills and knowledge that they need to avoid poverty and homelessness as adults. Earlier this year, I had a chance to meet with a girl named Rebecca from Florida, and I wanted to share her story with you because it really struck me as really exhibiting why education is so important in the lives of homeless children. Rebecca moved at least one time every year during her childhood, often homeless, cycling between motels and people's couches. She was ashamed of her situation, and like many homeless students, she actually tried to hide her situation from her peers and from her teachers. She fell behind in school because every move brought different teachers, different classmates, different curriculum. She was hungry, she was often alone. During her sophomore year, someone noticed her struggles. Her school counselor had been trained in the McKinney-Vento Act, and she noticed that Rebecca's address was a motel. She called Rebecca into her office to offer to help, and Rebecca told me she was initially very mortified, but she soon began to confide in her counselor. That was a real turning point in Rebecca's life when she was identified as a homeless student by her school counselor. Through the rights and protections provided to her by federal law, she was able to get the supports that she needed to succeed in school and graduate, and she's currently in college and studying to be a nurse. So Rebecca summed up her attitude towards school in the following words: "The only thing that could distract me and make me feel clean again was doing well in school. I knew that I couldn't help my home life, but when I raised my hand in class and understood the lessons, it made me feel like there was hope." So clearly the school atmosphere is really crucial for homeless students. Since the beginning of the recession, we've seen a sharp increase in the number of homeless students being reported as enrolled in public schools. In the 09-10 school year, there was almost 1 million homeless students enrolled. That's a 38% increase over the 3 prior years, and we also know that that number is likely an underestimate because not all districts report, not all homeless students are identified, and it also doesn't include infants, toddlers, and many preschool-age children. Around 7% of 5th graders have experienced homelessness at some point in their lives, and that percentage is even higher for minority and low-income students. So that's in any given 5th grade classroom with 28 students, at least 2 would have been homeless at some point in their lives. Hard to imagine, but it's true. Based on initial data coming in that we've seen, the number of homeless students is only continuing to increase in the school year 10-11. So these statistics are really concerning, and these students are facing a lot of educational challenges. They're often unable to meet enrollment requirements, including requirements to provide proof of residency, legal guardianship, school health records. They also have a very high rate of mobility, and we know research shows that students who change schools struggle academically. These students often don't have access to basics such as transportation, school supplies, and clothing, and they're more likely than their peers to show up at school hungry and tired and in poor health. And of course, homeless students face challenges in addition to being homeless, like domestic violence, neglect, even natural disasters, and all of these things can lead to an increase in mental health issues. So compared to their peers, these children have huge hurdles to overcome to succeed in school. Fortunately, to level the playing for homeless students, the federal government enacted the McKinney-Vento Act in 1987, which was last reauthorized by the No Child Left Behind Act in 2001. This law is designed to remove barriers to education created by homelessness and to increase the enrollment, attendance, and success of homeless students. Because of McKinney-Vento, students who are homeless can remain in one school, their school of origin, even if their temporary living situation is located in another school's attendance area, if staying in that school is in the student's best interest. Children and youth who are homeless can enroll and attend in a new school immediately if their family moves to a new area, even if they can't produce normally required documents like birth certificates, immunization, and proof of residency. Under McKinney-Vento, every school district must designate a homeless liaison who has many critical responsibilities. In Rebecca's case, this was her school counselor who identified her. These responsibilities of the liaison include identifying homeless students, assisting them with the enrollment process, and collaborating with community agencies to provide additional supports and services. And finally, McKinney-Vento authorizes grants to every state, which they subgrant to districts to assist in the identification of and services for homeless students. So as many of you know, the No Child Left Behind Act is very overdue for reauthorization. It's also called the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, or ESEA. And a bill to reauthorize ESEA was actually just recently passed out of the Senate Help Committee, which my boss is a senior member. We were very fortunate that this legislation that passed out of the committee makes some significant improvements on the current McKinney program to ensure students are getting the supports that they need. Specifically, the bill strengthens the school of origin provisions, and it enhances the ability of school districts to identify and serve students experiencing homelessness. It also makes services for homeless children, including Title I and including transportation and allowable use of Title I funding, which provides more flexibility for the districts. And also we'll be glad to know that the bill also increases access to preschool programs by requiring that they identify and prioritize homeless children for enrollment, and it increases access for homeless students to other important educational opportunities like after-school programs, summer programs, and extracurricular activities, which often there are barriers to those activities for homeless students. And finally, it enhances provisions around unaccompanied homeless youth to help them deal with the myriad of unique challenges that face that population. These changes and more were included in Senator Murray's Educational Success for Children and Youth Without Homes Act, which is S-571 in the Senate. On the House side, Congresswoman Bigger introduced a companion bill, which is H.R. 1253, and I know that in the House she's working to ensure these provisions are included in any legislation that moves forward, and ensuring that these provisions remain in the Senate bill as it moves to the floor and through a conference is a very high priority for Senator Murray right now. The education of homeless students is very important to Senator Murray, and it's my personal area of expertise, but as a member, she's a member of several other committees, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of the other work that she's doing as well. As chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee, Senator Murray is committed to ensuring that homeless veterans, including those with families, have safe and secure options to seek housing and services through the VA. She's fought for continued growth in the HUD VASH program, which provides housing vouchers and supportive services for homeless veterans and their families. She knows, as has been brought up several times today, that prevention is critical to the work to end homelessness. So to that end, she created the Veterans Homelessness Prevention Demonstration Program, which began earlier this year to prevent homelessness among transitioning service members in 5 locations across the country. And the senator is also the chairman of the Appropriations Subcommittee on Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development, or as we call it, FUD. Senator Murray first funded a pilot program on rapid rehousing in 2008 to ensure that we were moving federal policy for homeless families in the direction that many communities were already going. This was soon followed by the Homelessness Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program, which was part of the Recovery Act. As the Assistant Secretary mentioned, HPRP has served over 1 million people, and it's shown pretty good results in both cost effectiveness and housing stability. And then finally, through THUD, the senator has provided funding to the Interagency Council, and it has provided direction on how all the federal agencies can work best to ensure some really good coordination at the federal level to eradicate child and family homelessness. I know my time has run out, but thank you so much for having us here today, and thanks for hosting this.
Thank you, Sarah, for all of your hard work and dedication to homeless students all over the country. And please thank Senator Murray for her leadership and her really important work as well. I would now like to introduce my friend Amy Grosset from Worcester, and here to talk about her family's experiences. She has a lot of really important insights, and we're really grateful that she's here today to share those with us.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. Well, I think it's afternoon now, so good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here. I work at a community health center in Worcester, Massachusetts, called Family Health Center, and I started there as a volunteer after being housed and using the services of the Homeless Families Program there. I kind of wanted to give back and volunteer there, and I've now been working there for 6 years. I'm very honored to be a member of the Consumer Advisory Board for the Center for Family Homelessness, and as well I am chair of the National Consumer Advisory Board for Healthcare for the Homeless and secretary of their board of directors. So it's really become quite important to me in my life to do this work as a result of what happened to my family. My family was living in a different city in Massachusetts. I was a stay-at-home mom doing daycare for many years, so I was lucky to be at home with my kids. And my husband was disabled, had been for several years, but would occasionally work to bring extra money into the house, and started driving for a gentleman who owned an airport shuttle business. And did that for a couple of years on the weekends, and then the gentleman decided to retire and offered us the business, and we were very excited for that opportunity. So we took over the business in the summer of 2001, and as you know, several months later, 9/11 happened. We were a very small company, nobody was flying, and so we folded. We tried to get bailed out, but unfortunately they were helping the airlines and big companies like that. So a lot of small companies like that folded during that time. So over a period of time, almost a year, we became homeless, went to live with family for what we thought would be a very short time. We had signed up for Section 8 housing. And then about 3 or 4 months later, we found out that Section 8 housing became frozen in Massachusetts, so there were no vouchers available. We remained with our family and then went to the welfare office to ask for help, and were told that there were no shelter availabilities in the area, and so we were placed in Worcester in a hotel, which I thought was very strange. But we stayed at the hotel for several months and then moved into a family shelter, and then got referred to the Homeless Families Program at Family Health Center. And I just wanted to give you a glimpse of some of the services that we received while we were homeless. When we were living with my family, we accessed food stamps, some food pantries to kind of help out, and a local thrift store who provided us with clothing. When we became homeless, we put everything in storage. When we went to my mom's house, we had very little of our belongings with us. And then once we moved into the hotel, we still accessed food stamps, had to transfer our case to Worcester, and then continued to go to food pantries, but didn't know about food pantries in Worcester. So went back to the city of origin and continued to get services there until we found out about local food pantries in Worcester. We were told we would have visits at the hotel. That happened once. They kind of just came and assessed our situation, and we didn't hear from them again. That was from the local Department of Transitional Assistance. And then, as you may know, when you live in a hotel, you have a small refrigerator and a microwave, and so preparing food is very difficult. You can't make baked chicken and mashed potatoes, for instance. You have to buy foods like frozen meals and cold cuts and those sorts of things, very limited. So your food stamps run out very quickly. And so I started to go to local restaurants once or twice a week, like McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, those sorts of places, and just explained our situation, told them we were in a hotel, and asked for help with a meal. And most of the time, people would help us. It was very humbling. I can remember feeling really bad about that, but at the same time, I met people along the way who really helped and gave us hope. I remember needing milk and bread one day and went over to the local grocery store and asked the manager if I could just get milk and bread for my family. And he gave me money out of his pocket. So that, encouraged me to continue to hope. I feel very lucky that I grew up in a military family, and so I always had that sense of community and was always taught that we live in the world together and that we're neighbors and friends and we should help each other. So I feel very fortunate that I've lived my life that way, and I don't quite understand why other people don't feel that way. And I think we need to get back to that basic way of thinking. Once we moved into the shelter, we were, like I said, referred to the Homeless Families Program. We had weekly meetings with housing specialists to help us apply for housing, although we were told that the waiting list for 3 to 5 years. We continued to put our names on the list regardless of that. We had a weekly nutrition class. It was interesting, but children were there, so it wasn't the best scenario to have kids there at the same time. It was really kind of chaotic. And we were told that we would have twice weekly meetings with our family life advocates. I saw my family life advocate in the 3 months that we were at the shelter probably twice. So there was a real failure there. Then we also met at the Department of Transitional Assistance once a month, and it was a pretty degrading meeting. I remember leaving there, going to the waiting room where my 2 boys were in tears, being told that we were being terminated from shelter because my husband had taken on a job to help us pay off our bills, our electric bills, and all of those things to prevent us from falling back into homelessness, but we had become over income. And so we were asked to leave within 15 days. Luckily, the housing specialist there knew of some landlords in Worcester that she worked with, so she did find us an apartment. But we left the shelter with no furniture. We had no refrigerator at the apartment that we moved into. The shelter gave us a mattress that we all shared. We all took turns using the mattress, and we had some sleeping bags. So what I did was start calling local furniture stores and asking for help, and nobody was able to help us in that way. But then I called 1-800-MATTRESS, and this is a plug for them. And it was right before Christmas when we got housed. And he was very kind, and he said, ma'am, we don't do this on, a personal level. We donate on a corporate level, but could you hold on just a minute? And so he came back on the phone, and he actually had 2 twin beds delivered to my home the following day. So like I said, along the way, there were these really wonderful people that touched me and helped us to remain hopeful. Once we did get our apartment, there is a program that Central Mass Housing Alliance has called Donations Clearinghouse. And so in collaboration with a big furniture company in Massachusetts called Rotman's, their customers give used furniture to the furniture company, and you're able to access those services at Donations Clearinghouse, so you can go there and get what you need, but you have to provide your own way to get the furniture back. And then once we got involved with the Homeless Families Program, you can see the amount of services we received. It was just incredible to have all these services in one area, and we didn't have to go all over the city that we were unfamiliar with. Now I'm going to just touch on some key areas that I think is critical in helping families to overcome homelessness. And I want to say that these are not only things that I believe that homeless people should have, but all Americans. These are our rights. As someone mentioned, the UN Declaration of Human Rights. These are critical things for every American. Accessible, adequate, affordable housing. Transportation services, that's key, and it seems like when things get cut, transportation seems to get cut first. And so that is critical for folks. Child care services, not only getting a voucher for when you get a job, but when you're looking for a job, who's going to take care of your children when you're out there looking? And then continuing those child care services after the fact. That's really important. And accessible, adequate health care. I think we're on the right road. I think there needs to be a lot more work done, but definitely we need to have access. And livable wages for all, as someone else mentioned, people have to work 80 hours a week sometimes to afford a fair market rent. And so that's critically important. Education, as a result of what happened with us, both of my children dropped out of school. They went on to get their GEDs. They're both in college now, so they've turned it around. But this is really key to reaching kids very young, like you mentioned, at Horizons for Children, and so that we can prevent that from happening. And then services beyond homelessness, checking in with people at 6 months at a year to see how they're doing, to see if there are things that they need, I think is really important. And I'm just going to close with a quote that I have in my office that Albert Einstein said, and we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. I first met Amy when she was helping people in Worcester sign up for the Food Stamp Now SNAP program. And I've heard her tell her story a couple of times. And I know that she travels around the country and advocates for families who are homeless and families who are hungry. And she does it every day, and not only around the country, but in her day-to-day job. And we really appreciate her generosity in being here with us today and sharing her story and her family.